Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Just finished up with the Senior Bowl. Again, watched all the practice film. Got to watch the game. Going to be giving you guys my thoughts. Before we do, just want to say thank you guys for the support. This is actually an event that we were offered media credentials to go down and cover. And again, an extraordinary opportunity. Unfortunately, couldn't swing it, but that's just thanks to you guys and the support you guys have shown over the last year. Again, making these videos, talking ball with you guys in the comment section truly means we have a blast doing it. And the support you guys have shown, giving us the opportunities that we have had to do this, really appreciate it. So again, if you do enjoy the support or enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We really do appreciate it. More importantly, let us know in the comment section what you guys are thinking about these prospects, whether you watch the practice film, whether you watch the game. That's the beauty of the NFL draft season. Talking prospects, chopping it up about football in the comment section. So again, appreciate all the support you guys have shown. Let's get in. We'll go position by position. I included the measurements because, again, when you talk about Senior Bowl, this is the first time you're getting realistic measurements on arm length, on weight, on height with these guys. So included that. We're going to go position by position, starting with the quarterbacks, telling you guys what we saw from the practice film, what we saw on game day. And again, the quarterback position was really interesting because in years past, it's dominated the discussion around the Senior Bowl. You think back to Kenny Pickett last year, Malik Willis. None of these guys are going to probably be going in the first or second round. I like some of these guys, maybe Hendon Hooker, I should say, but he was down there just interviewing with teams. He was obviously not playing with the torn ACL. And there wasn't much discussion about quarterback play. I think Jake Haener probably looked the best, especially in the game. I thought he looked really sharp, 12 of 19, 139 yards, had that touchdown pass to Michael Wilson from Stanford. Not much to say about the quarterback. Malik Cunningham had a tough interception. Max Duggan looked okay. And again, you don't normally see quarterbacks thrive because the offensive play calling is pretty vanilla. The defensive line is normally getting after you pretty good with it. An offensive line is just coming together in a week. But again, Jake Haener looked the best. Clayton Tune following. I believe he went, 9 of 12 for 70 yards. So a pretty efficient day for him. But again, the quarterback's not necessarily what is catching our eyes. I thought the running back position had a lot of really good prospects in it. Eric Gray, phenomenal week of practice. He's a guy that might be a top 3 running back in this class for me. Again, a little shorter guy, but he runs the ball extremely hard. But what you see from Eric Gray, and you saw it during the practice, you saw it a little bit during the game, is the elite short area quickness. He's not necessarily the fastest guy straight line, but when it comes to making people miss at the second level, you might not have a guy better in this class than Eric Gray. I know Tajay Spears from Tulane also impressed a lot of people. More of a smaller, shiftier back, but out of the backfield, a phenomenal option. And Evan Hall probably looked the best on game day. 10 carries for 74 yards. He can run the rock really hard between the tackles. Probably more of a day 3 pick. But again, this running back class is very strong, and it's very deep. And I think most of these guys that you see on this board are probably going to be day 3 selections. Again, a very good running back class, obviously headlined by Bijan Robinson at Texas, who's not down at the Senior Bowl. This is where you get into the meat of things, the wide receivers, the cornerbacks. That's when you really get into the evaluation. Talking about some guys that stood out, we'll start with Andre Yosevich from Princeton. He's a guy that's an absolute flyer. I'm interested to see what he runs at the combine. I'm hearing rumors that it's going to be sub 4.3, a track athlete at Princeton, but also showed the ability in the practice to kind of get in and out of those breaks. And again, that's kind of what you look for when you have a super speedster like Andre. Yeah, it's nice that you can run in a straight line very fast, but how good can you get in and out of those breaks? How well can you make those contested catches? He did that at a pretty good level during practice. Looking down at the list, Jaden Reed's another guy that stood out, and a lot of people were making the joke that Jaden Reed was just held back by Peyton Thorne at Michigan State, and it's probably true. This dude was cooking people in the one-on-ones during practice. He looked pretty good in the game, too. One of the few top wide receivers that played. But, man, Jaden Reed's practice film was phenomenal. His release, very good. I didn't realize how fast he was until I saw those one-on-one Senior Bowl reps. Yeah, I think Peyton Thorne holding him a little back at Michigan State, but when he got down there and was working with cornerbacks, I mean, he just was the top athlete. I think you could also say that with Nathaniel Tank Dowd. He's one of my favorites. The only concern you have with him is 163 pounds. But in terms of, again, if you watch him, there's nobody who can keep up with him in man coverage. Very shifty, elite short area quickness. And One other guy I'd probably shout out from this week's of practice is Michael Wilson. He also had a very good game, 4 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown during the game this afternoon. But Michael Wilson is a guy that 6'1 and a half, 216. So he's got a nice body. But man, is he smooth for that size. And with the wide receiver class that I think is dominated at the top end by some of the smaller, shiftier guys, when you think about Zay Flowers and you think about guys like Josh Downs, I think a guy like Michael Wilson could find himself getting picked in day 2 because he's a little bit more of a boundary dude who also is a very smooth route runner and can create that separation. Those are probably my 3 top wide receivers from this week's of practice. And then again, Jaden Reed and especially Michael Wilson from Stanford showed it during the game on Saturday as well. At that tight end position, I think it's really hard to argue that Luke Musgrave is not the best tight end in this group and potentially one of the best tight ends in this class. 6'5", 255 pounds. He only had 2 catches for 13 yards, but this is a dude that we didn't see during his senior year at Oregon State because he messed up his knee, I think, week 2 of the season. But you love the size. And when you watch the film of when he was healthy or even the first 2 weeks of this season, he is a dominant force in the middle of the field. A guy that I didn't necessarily think was going to dominate in the run game. You never really saw that on film, but that was one thing that, again, he only had 2 catches for 13 yards, but he was a house in the run game, lining up on the line of scrimmage and kind of washing around defensive ends and making some noise in the run blocking game, which is something that you didn't really see on film. And I think if you had to pick a winner from this week in this Saturday's game at that tight end position, probably has to be Luke Musgrave of Oregon State, who's probably playing himself into the top 50 of this NFL draft. Offensive line, it's DeJuan Jones had a phenomenal week of practice, and this is a guy that we were really interested to see. He won not only the practice, but he won the measurements. 6'8", 375 pounds, 36.5-inch arms. This guy has length for days, and you kind of compare him to like Daniel Falele coming out of Minnesota last year. DeJuan Jones is much more explosive and a better athlete than Daniel Falele, and I'm not saying I think he's a day 1 pick because I do think there are some just limitations in his athleticism when it comes to pass blocking. But in those one-on-one reps, he was eating guys up with that size. And I don't think he's necessarily as bad of an athlete as some people think. I know my brother's not a huge fan of him, so we'll probably be talking about him a little bit more. But he's a guy that in those one-on-ones absolutely won the week. Matthew Bergeron at Syracuse, I think I'd add him to the list. And then John Michael Schmitz. He's a guy that's so solid. We've known it for years. Probably didn't even need to show up to the Senior Bowl. He's going to be a starting center at the next level. Honestly, kind of Cam Jurgens vibes. Very, very good athlete when it comes to working on double teams, working up to linebackers at the second level in the run game. I like his game a lot. And then if I had to name one other guy, Cody Mock looks solid. Those arms are really short. And a lot of people thinking he was going to play tackle at the next level, 32-inch arms. Probably going to be more of a guard at the next level, but looks solid. And that's what you look for guys from North Dakota State is like, you're not going up against top Power 5 level players every week. So when you get down to the Senior Bowl, you got to make it happen. I thought he did a really good job of making that happen. Moving to the defensive line, we talk Adotimwa Adebare from Northwestern, 6'1.5", 284 pounds, 34-inch arms. I mean, he's got longer arms than Ali Gay, who is 6'5", 263 pounds. When you talk about what he's going to do at the next level, he might be more of a 3-tech kind of guy, but he's going to test extremely well. You watch those reps. He's got extremely good short area quickness, but you love the leverage he plays with. Obviously, being 6'1", he plays with low pad level, but he's got very long arms and can get his hands on opposing offensive linemen very well, and he knows what to do with that. And I think when you watch him on film, Northwestern didn't really let him cook as much as I think he could have. And then he gets down to the Senior Bowl, and they say, okay, let's go rush the pass rusher at practice. He's very, very good at it. Derek Hall's a guy that I heard had a very good practice. I didn't get to see as much practice film from him as I would have liked, but I know I heard some good things about him. Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, he's a house. He's a guy that's continuing to move up my big board, uses his hands extremely well. And then Lonnie Phelps, that's wrong. He's from Kansas. He's got some serious juice to him off the edge. Again, 6'2", 251 pounds. He was really good for Kansas this year, and I thought he had a great week of practice from the one-on-ones that I saw. there were a lot of good guys. I mean, as know, Isaiah McGuire is a guy that I really, really like. KJ Henry's another guy that I really like from Clemson. But again, some of these defensive linemen, they were making some noise, but more. Oh, I got to highlight Carl Brooks from Bowling Green. 6'3", 303 pounds. He would play like 5-tech and see sometimes even like wide 9 at Bowling Green. At 6'3", 300 pounds, worked more on the interior. He was phenomenal during the game. He's a guy that with his athleticism and his quicks off the ball, like, you can do a lot of different things with him. Playing him at 3-tech, running different stunts. I thought he showed that physicality that you need to play with on the inside at the next level. Again, he's a guy that extremely productive at Bowling Green, but did not look as good when they played teams like UCLA, when they played teams like Mississippi State. But when he was in the MAC, nobody really was blocking him. He got down to the Senior Bowl, had a very good week, and kind of answered some of those questions on can you hang with the elite level talent at the college football level and potentially when you get to the NFL. Was impressed with his game a lot. Going to the linebackers, Carlton Martial's a guy that when I got the measurement, not even over 5'8", 210 pounds, really short arms, like just somebody that you wish measured better because the film at Troy was phenomenal. Diane Henley from Washington State, one of my favorite guys in the class, 33-inch arms, kind of like Brian Asamoah coming out from Oklahoma last year. Really good length. He's good in pass coverage as well, but also can blitz off the edge. I thought one concerning player, Ivan Pace Jr., like 5'10", 230 pounds. Sometimes he struggles taking on blocks when offensive linemen are moving up. He kind of uses more of the short area quicks to beat blocks as opposed to taking on blocks with physicality. He's got great instincts, and I like that a lot, but I just don't know if he has the physical attributes for him to be drafted as high as I think his film shows. And then Andre Carter, he's a guy, 34-inch arms, 6'6". You love all of that, but I just don't think the play strength is there. And that's probably the biggest concern I have with Andre Carter coming out of Army. Going to the cornerback, this is another really significantly evaluated position at the Senior Bowl. And this was probably the strongest group that we saw. Tyreek Stevenson probably jumps out the board first in terms of a very, very physical cornerback at the line of scrimmage. I know a lot of people were very happy with Darius Rush, who's just super, super smooth and was able to mirror wide receivers and stick with wide receivers at a high level. And then Julius Brents from Kansas State, again, 6'3", 30, almost 34-inch arms. He's another guy that you love the length, you love the physicality he plays with. Can he keep up with some of these top-end moving receivers? I thought he did a phenomenal job in the one-on-ones with that as well. He's probably another guy that I thought was some big winners. And then getting to the safeties, Christopher Smith, one of my favorite players in this class, I thought had a very, very poor Senior Bowl. Did not look very good in the game. Got absolutely run over by Cameron Peoples. Also gave up a tough coverage rep. He's a guy Christopher Smith is a very good football player, very smart football player, seemingly always in the right position when he was playing at Georgia. There's a reason he was a first-team All-American. I worry about the athletic attributes that he has. I don't think he's the fastest guy. I don't think he's the biggest guy. He's clearly not the biggest guy, 5'10", 188 pounds. And so I worry, does he have the athletic juice to be an elite safety at the next level? But again, when you take a look at him, when you watch the film, you fall in love with him, but then you just worry about how well is that going to translate to the next level. Now, the good thing is he played at Georgia. So he's going up against NFL caliber players at Alabama throughout the SEC. So it answers some of your questions, but Christopher Smith, still a guy that I want to see test at the combine and make sure he has those top-end attributes that you're looking for. And another guy who looked really good, Sidney Brown, 5'10", 213 pounds. Biggest question mark is he's really physical in the box as a safety. Can he cover? Can he do the one-on-ones? I thought he did a phenomenal job, not only in practice, but during the game, kind of putting on a complete performance for himself and his draft stock. So those are some of the winners that I had during this week. And I'm looking through my notes right now, seeing if I forgot any guy. Chris Rodriguez, I'd say, was probably one of the more impressive dudes in the game in terms of a running back. Just you all know what he was about. Very, very physical dude. He did have that fumble, but that was kind of on a muffed exchange. Pretty exciting week for the Senior Bowl. I thought this was a very talented group of guys at the Senior Bowl. The problem is not a ton of the talent played on Saturday. But again, very much enjoyed the game. Appreciate you guys for checking us out. Again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all.